Morning, everybody. Mark Sconti reporting. Mark Sconti reporting in a very down kind of energy right now. I got to tell you about it. Feeling kind of depressed right now. It's more like it's not depression. It's more like clarity. Like I had a revelation that I might be winding this channel down. I might be winding this whole thing down and just archive the whole thing and call it a day. Um, still make video, but maybe under a different name, a different place. Maybe YouTube, but something that doesn't have any affiliation with this work. Um, it just occurs to me that the gaslighting campaign, the state of our union right now is so bad in terms of election integrity, in terms of economy, in terms of just the ability for people to speak the truth and do what it is we do here. It just seems to become, it seems more and more impossible. The more you push back on it, the more vitriol and more aggression comes at you for doing it. So it just seems kind of, I got to tell you, it seems kind of senseless. It doesn't, I mean, this channel was something, and now it's nothing. Not because of you or me. It's because of the big tech is getting pressured from government. Government has now infiltrated into our speech, and is just not allowing it to happen. And the greatest example, what I'm going to play today is your president of the United States, Joe Biden, coming out in front of the cameras, gaslighting the shit out of the American people about why you should vote Democrat, and turn your back on the dirty Republicans, as if either party really matters anymore. And you decide. I mean, with all the evidence that we have of elections not being fair in this country, with a rather simple solution right in front of our eyes. And what is that solution? What is the solution to people not believing the elections are fair? One vote, for example, you could have a voter ID card that has a chip in it, and that you can go to the voting machine, put your card in, and a receipt is produced, who you voted for, your whole, like a receipt for who you voted for. Very simple. One person, U.S. citizen, one vote. You go in, you vote. Here's your receipt, right? Will we could we possibly agree on the results even in that kind of environment where a machine equivalent to an ATM machine is doing the counting? Is it possible that we would believe that? Well, we have a receipt, right? You're not allowed, currently by law, do you know that you're not allowed to leave, you're not allowed to take a picture of your ballot. You're not allowed to prove evidence of who you voted for in an election. You could get arrested for that, for taking a picture of your ballot. It's not allowed, you're not allowed to do that. You walk in, you take a picture of your ballot, you can get arrested. But, well, why? You got to ask yourself why. I think the answer is rather clear, because then the results of those elections can be challenged with evidence. So why not have a system where you actually have evidence? It's always been suggested paper ballots, but I say do it electronically and have a paper ballot receipt, a receipt of your ballot. If these ballots are ever, if this election in this area is ever challenged, people could show up with their ballot. For example, I speculated that, in Pennsylvania, why did 240,000 absentee ballots go out the other day prior to the election? But nobody that I know. I've been asking people left, right, and center, did you get an absentee ballot in the mail? And they're like, no. I didn't get one. And this is talking to people on both sides of the spectrum. I talk to people on the left. I talk to people on the right. They generally don't know if they don't know me and they don't know this show, they don't know my political stance. They look at me and think maybe, oh, he's got long hair, he's a liberal, or he's got a mustache, he must be a conservative, something stupid like that. But look, we could solve the election integrity problem in this country very simply. Right? People don't have to show up on January 6th and try to push their way into the Capitol anymore. If you would just make a system that's fair and believable to all people. Right? Now, I've said that probably a couple of hundred times on this program. I say it over and over again. That showing up and voicing one's opinion about things that we disagree with our government is called democracy. It's what we're supposed to do. And it's been vilified. It's been condemned. People like myself are considered misinformation agents, cyber bully, medical disinformers. Right? That's slander. Well, it's libel. They're writing it down and removing me from my work with fake, frivolous, unverifiable nonsense. They're the government for the most part is so anyway. So this is the loop I'm in right now, and I don't necessarily see a way out of it until something politically breaks. Until I don't even know. I mean, people are trying to rise up, but look what happens when they do. They get labeled terrorists and such. So I don't know. I don't know. I still am very, very comfortable moving into the area of mindfulness and such, mindfulness meditation, and I'm currently working on a video producing homegrown tobacco. That'll be pretty simple to do, but videos like that, I might have to go back and do stuff like that because this just seems to be it reveals what it does do. It does reveal just how corrupt and just how aggressive government is in this country right now to stop free speech. Now, yes, I am on YouTube speaking freely, but it's been jammed into, as you see, maybe 15 people watching, where it used to be thousands or 100,000 people watching a video. Now it's 100, 50. It's a successful campaign to shut you down, to vilify you, to make you look bad, right? To make you look like a criminal. Right? While all along the agencies and government that is actually doing the gaslighting and doing the aggressive campaign against its own people appear to be the aggressors, the criminals, the people that are rigging elections. So anyway, again, I'm not dumping my garbage on you. I have to state a fact. I said that I would do 100 videos on YouTube. We're up to 76 right now. So I got another 24 or 23 to go before I decide what I want to do here. Because I don't see it as, I do see it as helpful to the people that are here and watching it. And I know that and I know that you agree. Well, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here on an ongoing basis. But I don't want to be categorized as some criminal, right? Some right-wing, conspiracy nonsense theorist. No. So anyway, I do evidence, right? And I always have, and I could tell you, based on the evidence, that Joe Biden and his administration are right out in front of the cameras right now, last night, gaslighting the American people about elections, about democracy, about the true involvements of this country, right? Evidence upon evidence upon evidence that supports that argument. And for that for that, pointing that out, I get vilified. So anyway, this is my thumbnail today. Joe Biden, breaking news. Joe Biden gaslights America once again. This is 7 p.m. last night. Goes out in front of the cameras at a DNC convention-sponsored event and lies to the people. We're going to watch the whole thing. It's 20 minutes. That's really all I got today. That's all I can, that's all. That's it, right? We have a major, massive election coming up November 8th. Does anybody really believe the results of those elections? Well, the people that are in power right now, the Democratic Party, less than half the country, does believe it. And the other party that feels like they got ripped off during 2020 don't believe it. But look, the evidence. I'm not going to relitigate the evidence regarding election shenanigans. Mostly because that in itself is labeled as misinformation, and that will get your channel put further into the gutter. So it's a lose-lose situation. The striking fact is that your government has caused this to happen. Your government continues to pressure independent voices. Nobody cares. Mainstream media will never cover the fact that their lower competitors are being attacked. Who's to protect the free speech of the independent reporter? Nobody. Nobody's going to do it. So on that note, I'm almost, I'm preparing, I guess, farewell, unless something. I mean, Elon Musk, you got to love Elon Musk for what he's doing. Elon Musk is clearly, he fact-checked some kind of White House information yesterday. The White House put out a fucking lie saying that under Biden's administration, Social Security has gotten the biggest increase in ever, right? And that's because inflation went up. Inflation and Social Security are legally tied together. As inflation rises, so does the amount of Social Security provided. So if you have the most inflation ever, you're also going to have the highest tick up in Social Security benefits. So it's a lie. It's not a lie. It's a gaslight. It's to tell you, look how great Joe Biden is doing, but really he's not doing anything. It's actually celebrating a fuck up. Right? Inflation is skyrocketing, so Social Security follows that number, and so they turn a negative into a positive. It's just extremely dishonest. So then when you watch Joe Biden get up there in front of the cameras with the teleprompter, you got to say to yourself that this is just a spiraling down, democracy. Jerome Powell jacked up the interest rate again, another 75 basis points yesterday. That's 4 months in a row of unprecedented rate hikes in America. Mortgage rates are heading to 10%. Right? They're already at 7%. It's not going to stop. Every time you do that, every time you jack up the overnight interest rate with banks, the banks then put it off on everybody else. So credit card interest rates will go up, mortgage rates will go up, the price of everything goes up. Right? And these jackoffs working on a theory that you keep raising interest rates and somehow inflation is going to come down is ass backwards. It's factually incorrect. It's a flawed theory, pretty much based on another flawed theory, trickle-down economics, and other nonsensical economic theories. So anyway, but that's Weevil Girl says I missed the channel already. I'll still be here. I mean, this is what I do. I don't know anything I'm an entertainer guy, right? I play piano and I and I really love making video, but I don't want to be I don't want to be attacked like that anymore. I don't want to constantly, wake up in the morning and say, wow, is the channel, even still there? Are we, is free speech, still allowed in America at all? I know they have an election. I know they're having their election, and one's got to cheat the other, and who's going to out fucking screw the other one? I know how the politics work. But why attack people like me? Why don't you continue to attack each other and let the reporters report on how you guys are attacking each other? So, Colossal Bigfoot says do cat videos. I am doing cat videos. I got the Granny Cat channels up. That's me playing piano. That's my cat. So anyway, I do have a website. I still have one, and I probably always will have one. And as I say, last week we got jacked off the lead channel for, I guess, Paul Pelosi gets hit in the head with a hammer, and everybody else has to suffer because of it. Because Paul Pelosi, the guy who hit Paul Pelosi in the head, was a mega one psychopath. Breaks into Paul Pelosi's house. And that is an excuse for the Biden administration with the DHS and the FBI to then pressure big tech to shut people down. Any conflicting voice is a way to keep you safe. See, these people are talking about election integrity while we're going into an election cycle, and they're bad. No, you're bad. You're bad because you refuse, politicians, government, refuses to address the election integrity problem in this country. Yes, free and fair elections are the backbone of our great nation, but there are most of the people in this country don't believe the results. Therefore, as the political entity, as the political parties in power, you have to change that. You have to fix it. Trump said it, screamed from the rooftops. The elections are rigged. The elections are not fair. And what did he do about it while he was in office? Nothing. Zero. Zip. Bernie Sanders, same thing. They all say it. Right? The Democrats, hundreds of video clips of the Democrats saying that the 2016 election was rigged and stolen and hacked. But then once they assume power, then that there is no election fraud. There is no shenanigans. So move towards, we know the answer. One person, one vote. Do an electronic card, a chip. They're not going to do it because the elections are fucking manipulated till no end. Right? And that's the reality of it. They can't have people walking around with a receipt in their pocket who they voted for, right? Who'd you vote for? Oh, here it is. Here's my receipt. This is who I voted for. Exit polling. Who'd you vote for? Oh, here's my receipt. Boom. You want to take a picture? I'll share my election receipt with you, so everybody can see it, right? And the people that want to hide and don't want anyone to know who they voted for, that's fine, no problem. Go your merry way. Go your merry way. So anyway, so this is my thumbnail. Is this my thumbnail? That's not my thumbnail. This is my thumbnail. I changed it. I gave him a little more head and the Nazi symbol. So anyway, that's my thumbnail today, and I want to start here. That kind of sums up what I'm trying to say here. Security agents have switched their attention. This is part of the Hunter Biden laptop story that the New York Post has been covering since the beginning, all the way since 2020. A story that, proves, without beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Hunter Biden and his father were involved in quid pro quo activity in the Ukraine with the Russians and others, taking money for favors. It proves it pretty much. And to that too, according to Biden's administration, was Russian propaganda. Hold on a second. But the writer of this story says this: security agents have switched their attention from combating foreign disinformation to censoring the speech of American citizens who descend from the government-approved narrative. Right. And is it true? Of course it is. Right? They used to say, "Oh, everything is Russia." Now it's people like me. I've become the target of their disinformation campaign. Myself and other people like me who don't have a second channel to come on and rave about and don't have a website, who didn't back up their material, right, are gone. You know, that you don't even hear them because they're not there. They got deleted. Right? RT, remember, but there's so many of them, right? So is that true? Have security agents switched their attention away from foreign disinformation and began censoring speech of American citizens who descend against government-approved narratives? Yes, that is a factual statement. No matter that free speech is protected by the First Amendment, if the Biden administration doesn't like the speech, they label it misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. And they are deputizing the FBI and the DHS to strong arm big tech to censor it and deplatform the serial offenders. Now that is a fact. That is not only a fact, but that is my experience. That is my experience based on the facts. Right? It doesn't matter what brand of politics you are; it's Stasi stuff. So it's a brilliant quote. Also, before we dive into that, Russia will present evidence that it was the UK behind the Crimea attacks. Now, while the whole free world, who's lying here? Who's gaslighting who? Who's the aggressor in the Third World War with Russia? We are. Who's lying? Who blew up the fucking Nord Stream 2 pipelines? Well, the Russians now say that they're going to provide evidence to the public, right? Publish the evidence that it was, in fact, the British Navy leading the charge. So while Russia has on Wednesday announced it is re-entering the grain deal after receiving guarantees from Ukraine and Turkey, it is still pointing the finger at London for sending specialists to launch the attack. They're talking about Crimea, but also the Nord Stream 2 pipeline blow up. Yeah, it should note that Russia has also of late accused British special operations of helping to plan the September sabotage attack on the Nord Stream gas pipeline under the Baltic Sea. The U.S. has rejected these charges as false claims on an epic scale. So that's the Americans who funded, in part fund the blowing up the Russian pipeline that's providing natural gas to Germany to sell it. The Americans, the dirty Americans, are now sponsoring the dirty British who likely did it. Now, I said right from the beginning, it was either the American Special Forces or the British Navy who did it. Those are really the two prime suspects, the two, military entities that have the capability of doing it and doing it effectively. And they also have the capability of figuring out who did it if they didn't do it, which they never found out. Yesterday we talked about Seth Rich and getting two bullets in the back, and the FBI never investigated the story of a DNC informant leaking sensitive information to WikiLeaks. and getting 2 bullets in the back, and there's never been a a murderer, a suspect brought to justice, that the kid just died out in the street. This is what I'm talking about. These sorts of things are not, they're not separate at all. So White House deletes absurd tweet after CNN, Twitter slap with fact checks. So go, Elon Musk. Elon Musk says the system is working. So the White House published this tweet and said, quote, seniors are getting the biggest increase in their Social Security checks in 10 years through President Biden's leadership. Really? But what they don't tell you is that, and anybody with half a head realizes, is that Social Security checks that go to seniors is legally bound to the rate of inflation. As inflation rises, so does the amount of the Social Security check. It doesn't mean you're getting more money. You're just getting the same amount of money to buy the same amount of stuff. Right? Because if it weren't the case and Social Security didn't go up with inflation, people would still be getting checks for, $39 from the 1970s. So now they're getting $700. So it's but there you go. So the fact checkers on Twitter, finally, the system is working, as Elon Musk says. And the White House then deleted the quote. Right? That's the White House. That is the White House. That is the Biden administration gaslighting the American people to believe a lie. Oh yeah, the checks are bigger. Yeah, but inflation is more. It's untruthful. It's disinformation. It's misinformation. It's gaslighting the American people into thinking that something bad like inflation is really not so bad because we got you covered. We're raising it. We're raising your amount, the amount of money you're getting. And the market is in a fucking free fall right now. Again, where are we now? Ding, the market is open. NASDAQ down another, fuck you, I don't want your gift. NASDAQ down another 100 points. Dow slipping 237, S&P 500 down 40. So markets are getting rocked once again. Apple down another $2. Amazon under $100 a share at up 17 cents today. Google down 63 and such. War stocks, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon down right now. The holy vaccine stocks, Moderna getting crushed. Moderna crushed. Look at Moderna's stock, 142 right now. What's the historic on this? All the recommendations are bullish. Oh, really? Well, the stock was at the height of the pandemic back in August of 2021. It was a $495 stock. Moderna. Right? We're gonna make vaccines. Do we need a vaccine? We need a vaccine. Follow the line all the way up. We're gonna make it mandatory. You'll get your fucking injection or you're fired. You're fired. Oh no! And then people stop believing. They stop believing. And where are we now? We're down to 140 per share, right? So at the height of the pandemic, the wolves of Wall Street got $500 a share. Now they're getting 141 a share. See how they got to get that. Now they started to inject it into kids, right? Now kids, jacking up kids with the vaccine. Right? So it's all proportional on Wall Street. You see how Wall Street how the vaccine affects Wall Street and so I don't even know what I'm talking about. I don't even know what I'm talking about today. I'm so disgusted. So seniors are getting the biggest increase. We just talked about that. So Biden urges voters to preserve democracy by electing Democrats in closing midterm appeal. So his Wednesday night speech, that was last night. let's watch the speech. And this is, again, I don't have anything else today. I'm running out of things to talk about because we're not allowed to talk about anything. Or at least we're not allowed to talk about things of political nature. Political speech is now technically banned in the United States of America because of guys like Joe Biden, because of guys like Trump, because of guys like Bernie Sanders, that they get power, they know it's a corrupt system, but they don't do anything about it, and they never will because they're in that position, because of a cheated, a rigged, a fucked up system. Right? So here's Joe Biden gaslighting the American people. Let's go. He reads well.
Good evening, everyone. Just a few days ago, a little before 2:30 a.m. in the morning, a man smashed the back windows and broke into the home of the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the third highest ranking official in America. He carried in his backpack zip ties, duct tape, rope, and a hammer. As he told the police, he had come looking for Nancy Pelosi, to take her hostage, to interrogate her, to threaten to break her kneecaps.
All true. All true, Joe. But what about Steve Scalia, the House of the Representative whip, right? Stephen Scalia, he got shot 5 times while playing softball. He's playing softball at a Republican softball game, and some psychopath shot him, unloaded the gun before they killed the shooter. He's not going to mention that one. He's not going to mention that one. He's going to talk about some psychopath that kicked down Pelosi's back door. Both are very, very bad, per se. But this is politics. We have to talk. We got to vilify this one mental patient who we don't have the evidence. We don't know who he is. We don't know why he did it. We don't know. We don't know. They got him, right? Did they kill him? They didn't kill him. They got him. They got the guy that hammered Pelosi's head. They got him. So why not have a trial first before you say that he was a mega Republican or whatever? Already vilifying him.
But she wasn't there. Her husband, my friend Paul Pelosi, was home alone. The assailant tried to take Paul hostage. He woke him up. He wanted to tie him up. The assailant ended up using a hammer to smash Paul's skull. Thankfully, by the grace of God, Paul survived.
God.
All this happened after the assault. And it's hard to even say. It's hard to even say. After the assailant entered the home asking, "Where's Nancy? Where's Nancy?" Those are the very same words used by the mob when they stormed the United States Capitol on January the 6th.
So here you go. Here's your president. Here's your president gaslighting the American people to believe that one thing is connected to the other, which is connected to the other. The guy who broke into Pelosi's house was, in fact, part of the Klan that went to the Capitol to voice their opinion about what? Fucking possible rigging of elections in our country. Speaking their minds openly, honestly.
When they broke windows, kicked in the doors, brutally attacked law enforcement, roamed the corridors, hunting for officials, and erected gallows to hang the former Vice President Mike Pence.
Why were they there, Joe? Why don't you mention why they were there? They were there because the evidence was leaning towards shenanigans in the election. That's why they were there. That's not my opinion. That's the fact. That's what they were chanting outside. That's why they were there. So why don't you address the grievance of the people of this great nation as they show up on your doorstep screaming it?
It was an enraged mob that had been whipped up into a frenzy by a president repeating over and over again the big lie that the election of 2020 had been stolen. It's a lie that fueled the dangerous rise in political violence and voter intimidation over the past 2 years.
What voter intimidation? What are you talking about, Joe? What voter intimidation? Who's being? This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It doesn't even make sense.
Even before January the 6th, we saw election officials and election workers in a number of states subject to menacing calls, physical threats, even threats to their very lives. In Georgia, for example, the Republican Secretary of State and his family were subjected to death threats because he refused to break the law and give in to the defeated president's demand, just find him 11,780 votes. Just find me 11,780 votes. Election workers like Shay Moss and her mother, Ruby Freeman, were harassed and threatened just because they had the courage to do their job and stand up for the truth, to stand up for our democracy. This institution, this intimidation, this violence against Democrats, Republicans, and nonpartisan officials just doing their jobs are the consequence of lies told for power and profit, lies of conspiracy and malice, lies repeated over and over to generate a cycle of anger, hate, vitriol, and even violence.
This is what I'm talking about. This is what I was trying to say earlier. Why you have epic fucking performers like Joe Biden, just right out in front of the cameras, just refusing to hear anything any of the American people are saying, forcing big tech to shut people up. Right? And this motherfucker has the balls to come out in front of the camera and give a speech like this. Come on, man. I'm done. I'm almost done.
In this moment, we have to confront those lies with the truth. The very future of our nation depends on it. My fellow Americans, we're facing a defining moment, an inflection point. We must, with one overwhelming, unified voice, speak as a country and say there's no place for voter intimidation or political violence in America, whether it's directed at Democrats or Republicans. No place, period. No place ever. I speak today near Capitol Hill, near the U.S. Capitol, the citadel of our democracy. I know there's a lot at stake in these midterm elections.
Hey, no mention of the Russians hacking the election, right? What happened to that story, Joe? Didn't the Russians hack the election? Now it's the people. You see how they switched that shit? It never was Russia. It was always the other party. It was always the other party. That's democracy in action right now. Right? If you want to solve the problem, you have one person, one vote. Even if California has the most people and New York has the second most people, that's just the way it is. One person, one vote. Everybody goes to the ballot and casts their one vote, and you would solve this problem. But there is no interest in it because then you can't buy the election. You can't buy it anymore. Right?
From our economy, to the safety of our streets, to our personal freedoms, the future of health care, Social Security, Medicare, it's all important. But we'll have our differences. We'll have our difference of opinion. And that's what it's supposed to be. But there's something else at stake.
What's at stake,
Democracy
Joe?
itself.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's me playing piano in the background. I can't watch this without doing something because it's a little annoying.
I'm not the only one who sees it. Recent polls have shown that overwhelming majority of Americans believe our democracy is at risk, that our democracy is under threat. They, too, see that democracy is on the ballot this year, and they're deeply concerned about it. So today, I appeal to all Americans, regardless of party, to meet this moment of national and generational importance. We must vote knowing what's at stake and not just the policy of the moment.
So I'll translate for you, for everybody. It's basically put your head down and do as you're told. Go to the ballot box, put your piece of paper in the hole, and shut the fuck up and accept the results that we give you. Right? Don't voice anything else but that. Right? That's the interpretation here. If you're not if you don't understand American language, that's what he's saying.
But institutions that have held us together as we sought a more perfect union are also at stake. We must vote knowing who we have been, what we're at risk of becoming. Look, my fellow Americans, the old expression, freedom is not free. It requires constant vigilance. From the very beginning, nothing has been guaranteed about.
But what happens, Joe, when you are vigilant and you do show up and you do speak, and jerk-offs like you and your administration actively shut down that speech because it doesn't satisfy your political agenda? What about that, Joe? What about it, one-sided Joe? One-sided Joe, right? One-sided Joe. He looks like they jacked him up a little bit. He's reading well today, Joe, geriatric Joe. Is reading from the teleprompter well. Maybe they shot him up with something because he likes shots. He's double vaxxed and double boosted. They probably jacked him up with some low grade adrenaline to get him to talk.
About democracy in America. Every generation has had to defend it, protect it, preserve it, choose it. For that's what democracy is. It's a choice, a decision of the people, by the people, and for the people. The issue couldn't be clearer in my view. We, the people, must decide whether we'll have fair and free elections, and every vote counts. We, the people, must decide whether we're going to sustain a republic where reality is accepted, the law is obeyed, and your vote is truly sacred.
Yeah. Sacred vote. AU Image Vision says he's a masked actor. Yeah, I think that if you look historically, puppet leaders have been installed, frequently historically after a populist. Right? When the populist falls, a puppet is installed. I believe Joe Biden is that puppet. Right? He didn't win the people. Even in 2020, Bernie Sanders was the clear front runner. If it wasn't Bernie, it was Elizabeth Warren, right? So nobody picked Joe Biden. The establishment picked him.
We, the people, must decide whether the rule of law will prevail, or whether we'll allow the dark forces that thirst for power put ahead of the principles that we've long guided us. You know, American democracy is under attack because the defeated former president of the United States refuses to accept the results of the 2020 election. He refuses to accept the will of the people. He refuses to accept the fact that he lost. He has abused his power and put the loyalty to himself before loyalty to the Constitution. And he's made a big lie an article of faith in the MAGA Republican Party, the minority of that party. The great irony about the 2020 election is that it's the most attacked election in our history, and yet, there's no election in our history that we can be more certain of its results. Every legal challenge that could have been brought.
Now he's going to go into the legal challenges that were brought for the 2020 election when he controls the legal system. So you're not just talking to a politician. You're talking to a corrupt human being who controls the legal system, has the levers of power. And even Trump wasn't willing to throw a criminal like Hillary Clinton in jail. He should have, but he didn't. But guys like Joe Biden have no problem following through with, enormous, corruption.
Was brought. Every recount that could have been undertaken was undertaken. Every recount confirmed the results. Wherever fact or evidence had been demanded, the big lie has been proven to be just that, a big lie, every single time. Yet now, extreme MAGA Republicans aim to question not only the legitimacy of past elections, but elections being held now and into the future. The extreme MAGA element of the Republican Party, which is a minority of that party, as I said earlier, but is its driving force, is trying to succeed where they failed in 2020, to suppress the right of voters and subvert the electoral system itself.
How Joe Biden, tell me, how could the MAGA Republicans who want to suppress the vote, you say they want to suppress the vote, they showed up at the halls of Congress to voice their opinion about the vote. Never a mention of that, January 6th. Of course, they're never going to mention that. Why did the Patriots show up at the steps of, Congress to express their view on elections in America? And Joe Biden, he missed that point.
That means denying your right to vote and deciding whether your vote even counts. Instead of waiting until an election is over, they're starting well before it. They're starting now. They've emboldened violence and intimidation of voters and election officials. It's estimated that there are more than 300 election deniers on the ballot all across America this year. We can't ignore the impact this is having on our country.
Election deniers, vaccine deniers, everybody's a denier. If you disagree with their opinion, right? You disagree with my opinion, you're a denier.
It's damaging.
It's very, very corrosive. It's extremely corrosive. If you watch this from abroad, or if you don't pay attention, or you just pay attention to mainstream media, you might say, yeah, well, there's some truth to what he's saying. But really, when you don't watch mainstream media, and you're not gaslit, and you wake up every day like I do and follow this nonsense like you do, you realize just how full of shit these people are, and to what degree they will go to keep bullshitting you.
It's corrosive and it's destructive. And I want to be very clear. This is not about me. It's about all of us. It's about what makes America, America. It's about the durability of our democracy. For democracies are more than a form of government. They're a way of being, a way of seeing the world.
Democracy, Joe, is very simple. It's a very, very simple process. There are 330 million people in America, and they all have a voice and opinion. And when you let those people speak openly, honestly, and petition the government for redress of grievance, you have a functioning democracy. When you try to manipulate it and shut half the people up or more, you're not just shutting up half the people, you're shutting up all the people. Right? It circles the toilet. It's guys like you causing the problem, Joe. Get out of the way, man. Go away. Go away, and maybe we'll come back,
That defines who we are, what we believe, why we do what we do. Democracy is simply that fundamental. We must, in this moment, dig deep within ourselves and recognize that we can't take democracy for granted any longer. With democracy on the ballot, we have to remember these first principles. Democracy means the rule of the people, not the rule of monarchs or the moneyed, but the rule of the people. Autocracy.
You telling me the American politics are not ruled by the money? Are you fucking kidding me, Joe? Are you kidding me?
Is the opposite of democracy. It means the rule of one person, one interest, one ideology, one party. To state the obvious, the lives of billions of people from antiquity till now have been shaped by the battle between these competing forces.
It really is incredible, the transition that Biden went through very quickly. He looks like Bush Jr. He even looks like him a little bit, but sounds like Bush Jr. Right around, his reelection, around 2003, when he bombed Iraq. That's what he sounds like. To me, he sounds like it.
Between the aspirations of the many and the greed and power of the few. Between the people's right for self-determination and the self-seeking autocrat. Between the dreams of a democracy and the appetites of an autocracy. What we're doing now is going to determine whether democracy will long endure.
Now, I know this is hard to watch, but it's important that you watch it so that you understand when you run into somebody in the street who tells you Donald Trump orchestrated the hit on the government and he wanted to overthrow the government and he wouldn't leave office because he's a sore loser. You start to understand where it comes from. It's coming from the top. If you tell a big lie, half the people believe it. Right? The bigger the lie, the bigger they, So what do? They say that, Trump is the big lie. They're even using the term big lie. Right? It's gaslighting.
It, in my view, is the biggest of questions. Whether the American system that prizes the individual, bends towards justice, and depends on the rule of law, whether that system will prevail. This is the struggle we're now in. A struggle for democracy. A struggle for decency and dignity. A struggle for prosperity and progress. A struggle for the very soul of America itself. Make no mistake, democracy is on the ballot for all of us. We must remember that democracy is a covenant. We need to start looking out for each other again, seeing ourselves as we the people, not as entrenched enemies. This is a choice we can make. Disunion and chaos are not inevitable. There's been anger before in America. There's been division before in America. But we've never given up.
Colossal Bigfoot reports that they use the same scriptwriter. So Biden has the same scriptwriter as Bush Jr. That would be interesting. I would imagine that. I wonder if it's the same guy writing it. I know Obama had his own guy.
On the American experiment. We can't do that now. The remarkable thing about American democracy is this. Just enough of us, on just enough occasions, have chosen not to dismantle democracy, but to preserve democracy. We must choose that path again. Because democracy is in the ballot, we have to remember that even in our darkest moments, there are fundamental values and beliefs that unite us as Americans. And they must unite us now. What are they? Well, I think first, we believe the vote in America is sacred, to be honored, not denied.
Yeah, we all believe that, Joe. We all believe that the vote in America is sacred, shouldn't be denied. You're the one not allowing that to happen, Joe. Instead of vilifying the January 6th rioters, why don't you sit at the table and hear them out? Why don't you listen to the fucking argument that they made? Seems pretty obvious to me. But what do I know? I'm just some independent hack, right? I'm some guy who's working for one party. No, I'm just calling it from the middle. I'm shooting from the middle. You're the fucking liar. You're the one suppressing the evidence. Right? These are the American people speaking up. You're supposed to listen to them, not condemn them.
Respected, not dismissed. Counted, not ignored. A vote is not a partisan tool to be counted when it helps your candidates and tossed aside when it doesn't. Second, we must, with an overwhelming voice, stand against political violence and voter intimidation, period. Stand up and speak against it. We don't settle our differences in America with a riot, a mob, or a bullet, or a hammer?
Oh yeah, Joe. How come when you go to how come when you go to Antifa.com? I'll see if it's still up. Antifa.com, the most violent fucking underbelly of America. You come to the White House with Joe Biden getting another injection in his arm. You're telling me Antifa's not a violent movement? You're telling me that what I saw with my own fucking eyes, how Antifa was breaking, smashing and crashing and burning most of America during the George Floyd riots?
We settle them peaceably at the ballot box. We have to be honest with ourselves, though. We have to face this problem. We can't turn away from it. We can't pretend it's just going to solve itself. There's an alarming rise in the number of our people in this country condoning political violence.
All right, so I'll kill it there. I mean, that was pretty interesting, though, right? What do we got here, man? So yeah, markets is still getting crushed. I'm losing my shirt on that one too. That's not why I'm down in the dumps. But anyway, thank you all for joining me. My name is Mark Sconti. I am at this moment a political reporter, I guess. And I hope that's helpful. I do hope. It seems I don't see any dissenting opinions in the chat that we are one on what we're seeing here. That we're seeing a massive gaslighting campaign by the Democrats. And if the Republicans should win, they'll be doing the same thing in no time. Don't kid yourself. Or they'll do what Trump did. They'll still cry populism while they do absolutely fucking nothing about it, man. So thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you tomorrow. Friday we'll have a nice day. We'll do meditation with Weevil Girl and other such things, and I'll see you tomorrow, man.